We have so much turnip and carrots because my wife loves it.
Yeah.
And I hate this stuff.
Really? You don't like carrots?
Dude, vegetables? Come on, look at me.
Yeah, okay. I mean...
This is not the shape of a vegetable lover.
I don't know. It could be the shape of a vegetable.
I am, kind of.
Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
And today, I felt like this was a topic that I had to talk about, and I needed a little bit of a break from politics finally. And someone posted this article on Facebook about it, and I started reading, and I'm like, this kind of pertains to me. And I kind of realized that I should change. And it's about cell phone addiction.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
I want to look at my own situation first, okay? So tell me if any of these things sound familiar to you.
Okay.
I will read my cell phone when I'm brushing my teeth.
No.
You don't do that, okay?
No,
All
I
right.
don't read myself on brushing teeth.
I take my cell phone to the bathroom.
Yes, but I don't usually do anything with it while I'm in the bathroom.
Okay. You're better than me. You're way better than me so far.
Yeah, okay. Only because I don't want to get it. I would if it wasn't a fact I'm worried about it being contaminated.
Oh, I'm well beyond that.
I think that's
I'm well beyond that.
I think because of where I work, I'm always like,
okay, yeah, I guess
let's just not.
Yeah, fair enough. That's potentially a different situation. Although, really, I mean, bringing the cell phone into the bathroom, regardless, that thing's contaminated. Like, I should burn my phone and get a new one. Like, that's probably how contaminated that thing is.
I'm not doing a number one and looking at my feed, swiping left to right.
Right. Okay. Yes. You know what? If I'm standing at a urinal, I don't have my phone out.
Right. Like,
okay.
Like, I know, obviously, you're talking to your own house because you did in other people's houses. Well, I guess that'd be impressive. I'm not saying I've never brought out my phone. I usually don't.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm trying to think. At work. Now, my work's a little different. Yeah, my work's a little different because I go to clients instead of, say having a central office, right? So, and I have to, like, my cell phone is a work phone, okay?
Yes.
Like, it's provided to me. I use it for emails. I use it for phone calls. Like, I would still argue, although I could be wrong, I would still argue that the predominant use of the phone is work. But I'm sure if I asked my wife, she would say, I doubt it.
Well, you need to look at your screen time to find out what you're actually using your phone for.
Right, and so that was okay. So that was one of the things, especially when iPhone introduced that average screen time report that comes up on your phone every week, and it says, your screen time was 6 hour average of 6 hours a day, and it's up 10% over last week, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I really use my phone that much? Now I realize that 6 hours average a day is not, like staring at social media and things like that. Not all of it. Because again, I mean, like I'll be in my email and in my work calendar scheduling appointments. But the other thing I do is when I'm in the car, and you do the same thing at work, but you probably lock your phone, is listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my case, when I'm listening to a podcast in the car, I have a little magnetic mount on my windshield. And so what I do is I have it on the magnetic mount and I leave the phone unlocked. Okay. Right. So which adds to my screen time. So I realize, kind of thinking about it now, it's like, okay, I know that when it tells me that my average screen time every day is 6.5 hours, that it's likely way over what it should be. And case in point, over the Christmas break, I'm not working, and when I got the notification for that first week that I was off, my average screen time had dropped to under 3 hours a day.
Right.
But at the same time, that gives me a more accurate measure of how much screen time I am getting on things like social media and I guess less important things, as it were, because in that week of time, I maybe checked my work email once,
right,
and I wasn't listening to any podcasts.
Aw, shame on you.
Well, because it's something that I do in the car, I very rarely listen to them otherwise, right?
I listen to them around the house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I probably could. Now that I have the right earbuds, I probably could, but yes, fancy sports earbuds, I can run with them.
Are they Bose?
No, because I'm not crazy. They're Plantronics.
I want everyone to know that I'm literally getting Bose earbuds this week.
Oh, okay.
From Amazon.
I hate you.
Because as a side note, my wife got me an Apple Watch, and I went, I really don't need an Apple Watch. Like, it's overkill.
Yeah.
The only thing I get on my watch is notifications. Like, I would put too much stuff on my watch and it'd be a distraction.
Well, you know what? I've got a smartwatch, and it's not an Apple Watch, and the same thing. I mean, I've just noticed that notification. Oh, what is it? And it's like, well, I didn't need to look at that, right?
Yeah.
Like setting my watch. Initially, I'm like, well, if I have the notifications come to my watch, I don't have to pull the phone out of my pocket, except for the fact that then it's just another distraction. Every time my watch buzzes, it's like, oh, what was it? Oh, okay. It's whatever's trending on a subreddit that I'm in right now, and it's like, okay, that wasn't important, and I just spent the 10 seconds looking at my watch to see what the hell it was.
Yeah, the only thing I got on my watch is messages. iMessages.
Yeah, when I was kind of doing all my reading for this, I went into my phone and I went into the notifications, and I started like just indiscriminately turning off notifications, right? Like I got do not disturb set up on my phone now. I've got the what is it? The do not disturb while driving set up now. So if I'm driving and someone sends me a text message, it'll send them the automatic text message back. And then I started like, okay, I don't really need a notification every time something happens with Strava. I don't need a notification every time something happens with the Cineplex app. I don't need a notification every time something happens with Instagram, whatever, right? Like, I mean, and I know like Instagram is one of those things that I only use for the podcast, but I'm like, I don't need a notification. I can very quickly check it once a day. Takes me a couple of minutes. Oh, was there anything new? Somebody following us? Is there a post? Whatever. Like, like that's what I use Instagram for. So I don't need a notification that tells me these things. Yep. I just know I can do it and check it, and it takes a couple of minutes. Getting the report telling me that I'm not working, so I'm not checking emails, I'm not really listening to podcasts, and I was still using my phone an average of 3 hours a day, leads me to realize, while I know that I feel like I need to use social media for doing the podcast, that I'm probably overusing it.
Yep. When they came out with screen time, I wasn't surprised at my numbers
Right.
because I was aware of how badly I use my phone. I was like, oh my God. I was like, yep, 2.5 hours. Oh wow, it's only 2.5 hours. Good for me.
Yeah, part of me was thinking I would have expected it to be higher, but even still looking at it and thinking, yeah, that is kind of high, right?
My 2.5 hours, and I mentioned this, I cheat with my 2.5 hours because I have two phones essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I have one phone that won't work for a phone jack,
mm-hmm.
and one phone that does. So the one that doesn't, I put my earbuds into and or watch something that I shouldn't either be watching in front of my kids or as my podcasting phone, basically.
Right.
And the other one is meant for when I'm in front of my kids and I don't care what I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
It's age appropriate. And I can assure you I have a lot of YouTube subscriptions that are not age appropriate because they make me laugh.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then I have other ones that are perfectly fine. I let them watch them with me.
Right.
But I know for a fact that I really have to monitor myself. Like I have restricted viewing after a certain time of the day set up. So it basically forces me every time I want to go to a website,
mm-hmm.
I have to say, I can only do it for 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
I have it locked up on YouTube, so I can only watch 2 hours of YouTube per day.
Right.
Which annoys the heck out of me sometimes.
Because depending on what you're watching.
Well, some days, like if I'm sick or if I'm trying to use it to sleep,
mm-hmm.
and then I get the notification and it snaps me out of whatever I'm in.
Right.
But I set that up for my own restraint because otherwise I would spend hours on YouTube. I could spend hours on YouTube.
Right.
I love YouTube. And I hate YouTube.
I feel like I definitely don't use YouTube as much as you do, but
no.
And I still have that same feeling about it. I do like it because when I do go on YouTube, I'm almost guaranteed to find something that I want to watch. But I do hate it in the sense that it's something that you can also very easily just get absolutely absorbed into, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what time is it? Okay, so a couple of stats, as it were, from a study that was done in 2017, and I think again this might have been more of a self-reported study. Think about when we were going over the StatsCan information for marijuana.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So in 2017, the average American adult, so this is an average number,
Okay.
spent 2 hours and 51 minutes per day on their phone.
I could see that.
And this is only 2 years ago, right?
It's only going to get worse.
When you take that number as an average, so keep in mind there's people obviously that would be a lot higher than 2 hours and 51 minutes because that's the average. So if you took that number and extrapolated over the average lifespan, that would work out to 5 years and 4 months in the average lifespan of looking at your phone.
Yeah.
Or spending time on your phone.
Yeah, but I mean, like, my phone basically has replaced TV watching.
Yeah, and I feel like, okay, so it's done that for the most part. I know recently, and maybe this is kind of one of those things where like I'm cutting off my nose to spite my face. I've also been trying to use my phone a little bit less at home, and then my wife and I have been watching Netflix more. And it's like, okay, so we've traded one screen for another. And you're right, like we haven't had cable now, it feels like in almost 10 years.
We still have cable for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, but I would say the biggest issue that I've seen recently, and honestly I've been thinking about it probably for like at least the last 6 months, is that using my phone has replaced reading. I used to read a lot of books.
I could see that.
And I mean now I even like personally I even started a page on Facebook where you know how some places they have there's some place they've got those libraries on their property, and it's like you can put a book in, you can take a book out, whatever. And we have a discount bookstore in town, and you know if they have like a book that has like a mark on it or it's been damaged or something like that, they sell it for 50%. So it started 2019. I went in there and bought a whole bunch of books, and I'm like, I'm gonna read all these books. And when I'm done with them, I'm going to put them up on this Facebook group, and I'm going to be like, if anybody wants it, tell me, and I'll get it to you, right?
Yep.
I want to say since in 2019 as a whole, I would guess that I read 5 books, if that. And you're probably going to be like, I've read no books.
No books. Yeah. When was the last book I read?
And I missed that. No. I missed that time.
I read Kevin Smith's book.
Okay.
That was the last book I read.
Yeah. Was that 2019?
No.
I was going to say, how old is that book now?
16, 17, something like that. Yeah. 16, 17. I just I found over time, I've given reading 3 goes. 3 hard goes with 3 different book series. Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. Whatever Dritz.
Icewind Dale. Yeah, the Forgotten Realms. Yep.
And Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Those are 3 books, 3 genres that I knew I liked.
They're all fantasy related, but yeah.
Like that was the books I like, and I wanted to give them a really hard go. And Wheel of Time, I never finished.
Well, that's a hard slog,
right?
I've finished it. It's a hard slog,
right? Like I got into the 5th book and went, oh my, I'm having troubles remembering characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I finished the Icewind Dale up until book 7, but book 7 wasn't out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Right. I finished I actually read them in chronological order because I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So I read them in chronological order, even though it was done the reverse way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I read them in chronological order, and I didn't finish them all, but I stopped. And I did finish Lord of the Rings, but that was even a hard slog for me.
Which is interesting because Lord of the Rings is just the 3 books, right?
Yeah.
But even still, it's
so. I've learned that audio is the best way for me to learn.
Right.
Or listen.
Yeah.
Or consume my media.
The reason why I listen to podcasts as opposed to audiobooks is I've done the audiobook thing in the car, but I only listen to books I've already read.
Okay.
Because if I try and listen to an audiobook while I'm driving, I'm not going to, let's say if I try and listen to something new, I'm not going to absorb it. Right? For me, if I want to if there's a book that I want to like get information out of, it's got to be physical in my hand, right? Yeah. Okay, to get back to the smartphone, the cell phone, I guess addiction thing, as it were. So, one of the things that I found through some of the articles I was reading, and I'm going to put this in the show notes, is what's called the smartphone compulsion test. So there was a list of 15 questions. All right.
Oh, am I taking the quiz?
Mike is about to take this quiz.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you my score after. Question number 1. Do you find yourself spending more time on your cell or smartphone than you realize?
No.
Okay. Do you find yourself mindlessly passing time on a regular basis by staring at your cell or smartphone?
Yes.
Do you seem to lose track of time when on your cell or smartphone?
No.
Do you find yourself spending more time texting, tweeting, or emailing as opposed to talking to people in person?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Has the amount of time you spend on your cell or smartphone been increasing?
I don't actually know because I lost my phone data, but I don't think it has. I'd say no in that case.
Okay. Do you wish you could be a little less involved with your cell or smartphone?
No, I've got it locked up pretty good.
Okay. You're better than most people, I guess. Do you sleep with your cell or smartphone turned on under your pillow or next to your bed regularly?
No, I have a sleep phone.
What? What does that mean?
I have a phone that's specifically designed. Its only purpose is for me to sleep with. All it does, it's like an old iPhone 4, I think.
So it has like no cell
coverage,
no SIM card. It's not
Safari
hooked up.
doesn't work. Nothing basically works on it. All it does is play a podcast in my ear, and then I go to sleep.
I guess the answer is no on that question.
No, because it's not my cell phone. It's not my cell phone. It doesn't do anything.
Fair
All
enough.
it does is it just plays it.
And it's not connected to anything otherwise. So it's not like you can surf the internet or use social media that you don't use anyways or anything like that.
No, it's like it basically comes up, and the only thing I moved on the entire phone was the podcast down to the home screen.
Gotcha.
Like the homeroom.
Yeah.
Access it.
Okay. Okay. I'll put no. But
if you're asking me if I've ever brought my cell phone to bed, come on, please.
Well, that's why I said the question does say, do you sleep with your cell or smartphone under your pillow or next to your bed regularly?
No, not regularly.
Okay.
It does happen.
Okay. I guess under the circumstances, I'll say no. I feel like whoever created this test would hear what you do with that phone in particular and say you have to answer yes to that. Because even though you can't do anything on it, it's still a phone. It's still there. Whatever. Anyways. Okay. I'll answer no under those circumstances.
If I could get it to say, "Hey Siri, turn it on," I would.
Right. Okay.
But then it'd have to be connected to the internet. I don't want that.
Okay, number 8. Do you find yourself viewing and answering texts, tweets, and emails at all hours of the day and night, even if it means interrupting other things you are doing?
Yes.
Okay.
I have answered text messages when I should be doing something else, like my job.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I tend to have that issue with work sometimes as well. Like one of the downsides of getting your work emails to your phone is that people
expect you to respond quickly.
Yes, exactly. And then let's say if I'm in, and the problem, I'm at fault for that too, because I do respond. So let's say if I'm at home and I'm in the middle of dinner and somebody sends me an email, I might, not always, but I might pick my phone up, open up the email, and if I feel like I have enough time, I'll respond to it. Right?
Yeah, I get it.
Do you text, email, tweet, or surf while driving, well, you don't drive, or doing other similar activities that require your focused attention and concentration?
I don't think it's really applicable. Like, you can almost scratch that off, because, I don't do anything that
requires that much of your attention and concentration?
Right, like, even at my job, it's never that intense.
Okay. We'll say no.
Let's go with it.
Do you feel your use of your cell or smartphone decreases your productivity at times?
Yes.
Who doesn't?
Sometimes it does help. It does both, but more often than not, it does.
Okay. Do you feel reluctant to be without your cell or smartphone even for a short time?
No.
Okay. Do you feel ill at ease or uncomfortable when you accidentally leave your smartphone in the car or at home, have no service, or have a broken phone?
No.
Okay. When you eat meals, is your cell or smartphone always part of the table place setting?
No. But that's a rule in the household.
Good. All right. When your cell or smartphone rings, beeps, or buzzes, do you feel an intense urge to check for texts, tweets, emails, updates, etc.?
Yes.
Okay.
Pisses me off that it does, but it does.
Dopamine.
God damn, I hate it.
Do you find yourself mindlessly checking your cell or smartphone many times a day, even when you know there is likely nothing new or important to see?
No, I only check it if I know you're trying to get a hold of me or something like that, because I purposely turn off Facebook messages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only time I check it, to see if you responded. But that's just to see if you've responded. I don't care about anyone else.
Fair enough. All right. That's your 15 questions. So
now, if you asked me those questions 2 years ago, there'd be a very different response.
fair enough. Okay. So it was out of 15. So it was out of 15 questions. So it was 15 points.
Yep.
Okay. So you scored 4 out of 15. It's
Okay.
quite low. But apparently, so at your level, which is between a 3 and a 4, your behavior is leaning toward problematic or compulsive use.
Let's go in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Okay.
Downward from that.
Well, that's good. Where do you, I guess, do you feel like you could have been a lot higher before?
Oh, no, I would have been a lot higher.
You would have,
before.
okay.
I can, on some of those questions, like, I used to do that.
Yeah.
And I purposely made choices to get away from that.
Gotcha. Okay. I scored a 10.
Nice, kid.
You want to know what a 10 is? 8 or higher. Okay.
It's just 8 or higher.
If your score is over 8, you might consider seeing a psychologist, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist who specializes in behavioral addictions for a consultation.
Like, I should go to see a psychiatrist anyway because I have addictions and I know this, which is why and I mentioned about the phone upstairs. The reason why the phone's upstairs, there's a phone specifically to dedicate kids sleep, is because it used to, when I would take my phone to bed,
Yeah.
and it would keep me up.
Right.
So I put a phone upstairs,
Yeah.
like an old phone that I wasn't doing anything anyway,
Yep.
specifically for that.
I used to take my cell phone to bed, and when my wife would fall asleep, I would just roll over and start going through Reddit or whatever, and
Right.
just have all the settings on the phone so that it was like the dark mode of the phone,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
it wasn't emitting a lot of light. And it's like I'd be up sometimes for another like hour and a half after she's fallen asleep.
And the thing was, is how I got hooked on it was because I used to do it with an old BlackBerry.
Right. Okay.
And the screen was so small that it would put me to sleep
Right.
because it wasn't radiating enough light to keep me awake.
Right.
Well, when I got bigger and bigger phones,
Yes. And when they got brighter and everything else.
it
yeah.
didn't, and I mean, I have my phone set up for night shift. I have my phones locked up like you would believe. Like I have the YouTube thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have it almost nothing get notifications. I almost virtually I try to lock down notifications. My biggest weakness on my phones usually is video games.
Right.
It's been always my biggest weakness for addictions anyway to begin with.
Right.
Right. Like I got the new phone because my phone died and it was a better phone, so I downloaded a game I couldn't download before and played it
Right.
like an idiot. Like,
well, I mean, I've gotten into the mobile game thing a bit as well. Now, I've never spent money
yeah, I know.
at them.
Man, did we grow up in that era, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like we refuse to put money into a game. You will spend. There's a game I probably put 200 hours into.
Yeah.
Haven't spent a dime on it.
Well, that's good.
Refuse to spend a dime.
Which is funny
So
because
the poor manufacturer's getting nothing from it.
we grew up during a period of time where, I mean, mind you, they were on their way out, but we did grow up in a period of time when arcades were a thing. Maybe that's why we don't spend as much money on mobile games, because we know how much money we'd end up spending at the arcade if we went to the arcade often enough and if you had money to spend.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know, maybe that's part of it. But yeah, so.
Microtransactions is not a thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I don't think I've made a microtransaction.
Yeah. I was a gamer. I still classify myself as a gamer. But like honestly, if I play, and I'm even talking about on my phone, like I don't even think I have a single game installed on my phone right now. For the most part, the only time that I play games right now is on my laptop. And if I were to look at like, say, the last month of my gameplay time on Steam, it would be like an hour.
I wish I could say I hadn't played an hour today.
Well, because there's just other. So I mean, again, like that's one of those things that I'm glad I don't get too sucked into with my phone. Like like again, there's games that I have installed on my phone and I'll play. But the problem I have with a lot of the games, especially when they're free to play, is the microtransaction thing comes along, right? And it's like, well, if you want to play the game better or faster or whatever, you're going to have to spend money. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not me. And eventually I get to a point where it's like, well, this game has slowed down to a crawl. Now it bores me and I'm uninstalling it.
Yeah, and a lot of I've found far too many free-to-play games like that.
Yeah.
So I've slowly purged them. Like if you were to go through my phone now, you'd be like, oh, that's a really good free-to-play game. Yeah, you're damn right it is. That's the reason it's on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's all I have.
So I mean, I'm glad that say, you know, my cell phone addiction, as it were, hasn't carried over hasn't exploded with the gaming side of things.
Yep.
Because I haven't spent money on any games on there either, right? Like I haven't bought a game. Okay. So I'm kind of glad that I have at least that separation of my personality from my phone. But again, I look at that roughly 3 hours of time average per day during that week during Christmas when I was off work and think, so I spent 3 hours average a day on things like Twitter and Facebook, basically.
And Reddit?
Yeah. Reddit, not so much anymore.
Really?
But
Reddit's the one that always gets me.
Well,
I have to install it.
Yeah.
Like this is when oftentimes when I look at my phone, when I look at the data, I'll go, oh, I'm spending way too much time on this. I gotta get rid of it.
Right.
And I'll delete it off my phone.
Yeah.
Because I know Facebook was like that, Reddit was like that. I delete them both on my phone because I don't want. They're just they're a hole.
And I try not to get like too far down the rabbit hole in Reddit. Let's say.
Yeah.
I curated the app. I curated the Reddit app on my phone based on the podcast. Okay.
Yep.
So the subreddits that I'm in, like I'm in all of the provincial subreddits, right?
Right. Yep.
So I did that, and I'm in like Canada politics and Canada and stuff like that. Like I picked for the Reddit app itself. I just picked subreddits that I figured would work best for being able to do research for the show, because that's where all the different news articles for everywhere, for every province and the country get posted. So it's an easy way to do research. Now, what ends up happening though is on the Reddit app they've got your home tab, which is like here's all the subreddits you're in, and then they have the news tab where it's like here's all the like popular posts and things like that. And so I end up on the news tab and I end up scrolling on there for like half an hour, and I'm like, oh, I had something else to do.
Yeah.
And now well,
they're designed to suck you in as much as they can.
Yeah, and it's like every other post right now is about Trump and impeachment and this and that and the other thing. And I know I don't tend to read them. But it's still the fact that I'm taking the time to scroll through it. It's like, well, I'm trying to find something, right? And that's again where I feel like it's time that I am kind of wasting. I guess it's possible that there's been a bunch of studies done in regards to cell phone usage and things like that. But mind you, smartphones in particular are still relatively new. Like, what are we talking? Yeah. The first iPhone came out 10 years ago ish, roughly.
Yeah, like really.
And even then, the first iPhone was nowhere near what we have now.
No, like the most expensive computer and the computer you use the most is your phone.
Yeah,
and you need to look at it like that, and it's something that it's crept into it, so it's not something that I became consciously aware of right away.
Right.
I know my cell phone use was bad,
mm-hmm.
and I constantly have to put in mechanisms all the time to try and get my cell phone use down.
Yeah.
That's why it's as low as it is.
Right.
It shouldn't be that low.
It shouldn't be at the, what did you said 2 hours and
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. Yeah.
2 hours, 2.5 hours. But it's only because I put in blocks and blocks, and I constantly go, am I using my phone too much? And I'll go, what am I using my phone for? Yep. This particular app is using more time than I would like to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something you just have, and some people don't want to be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
I find. Like, they're like, oh, I'm using it that much? Like, how do you not know?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know how much I use my phone. Like, and I just like when people are like, how much video games do you play? I'm like, I don't really want to admit that fact.
Yeah.
Right? Minecraft really likes my time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where I know I need to be conscious of it. And for advice, things that you can do is that if you get good with IFTT and things like that, you can set up timers for things.
Mm.
And I find that that's good. I've also tried very hard to cater my apps for certain things. Like I have an app, one of the games I play, there's basically two modes I played in.
Mm-hmm.
Either I'm gathering resources, which is basically I'm going to run ads, which I don't really count as video game watching because I'm not watching. I'm just running the ad.
Right.
Or I'm playing it, but like it's a battle game, so each battle only takes 3 minutes. So I'm only on that game for like 5 minutes most, and then I just shut it off.
Right.
I come back to it later.
Right.
And I like games like that.
Now, do you play multiple types or multiple games at a time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like that. See, and again, where when I was playing games on my phone, I was usually only playing one game, right?
Yeah.
Where maybe if I had like 5 games going, it'd be like, okay, well, I'm stuck on this one, but I wouldn't get as frustrated or bored with it if it's like, well, I'll just go over to this one and see what I can do here, right? Because it would feel like the time that it would take for certain things to happen would shrink because I'm filling my time with something else, right?
Yeah. The dopamine with me is not as bad.
Yeah.
Or no, dopamine with me is actually worse, I should say. It's
Yeah.
way worse than yours, I should say. My apologies. I misspoke.
That was the dopamine talking.
That was the dopamine talking. It's trying to convince me. Oh, Mike, you're not that bad. Give me more.
Yeah.
I have different kinds of games too. That's the worst problem. Like I purchase games, but the funniest part is the games I've purchased are old Super Nintendo games. Who does that?
I don't know. I almost did. They took the mobile adaptations of those games, and they put them on Steam. So I almost bought them on my computer as opposed to buying them on my phone. Because I look at a game like that and think, this isn't a game that I would play on my phone, but I would totally play it on my computer. And then I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy it for the computer.
So there is a book that I'm hoping to read. To go back to the fact that I said that I've barely read any books in the last year.
Just look it up on YouTube and watch it there.
No. This is there's a reason why it's a book. Okay. So I found that I found this book through the original article that my friend posted on Facebook, and the book is called "How to Break Up with Your Phone."
No.
By Catherine Price. Okay. So again, I'll put the link for the book in the show notes as well. From reading the article and reading kind of the blurb of the book, it's not designed to like stop using your phone. It's not like a complete elimination of the phone. It's more like what you're saying in the sense that, you know, and it's not necessarily controlling it with like macros and with shortcuts and things like that. It's just more like having a healthier relationship with your phone.
Yes.
Right. So I think I was going to buy the ebook for this because I do ebooks. I prefer, like, if it's something that I want to keep, I would prefer an ebook. But they have this book at our library, so I'm going to go to the library and I'm going to get the physical copy of the book. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to use the library.
Ooh.
Who does that anymore?
Haven't done it in a year.
It's been a while, but I'm gonna read that. I want to read that book, and I want to see if it makes a change, because I'm again there's certain things that I feel like I could probably be more efficient in my use of my phone.
Okay.
Right, and I feel like that's what I want to move towards, because if I'm more efficient with my phone use, then hopefully it won't interrupt other things,
right?
And I can start doing things that I used to do that I don't anymore because I spend so much time on my phone.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a fantastic idea, and I know with my addictive personality, people have heard me say this in the podcast, that I have a very addictive personality. So why am I not addicted to my phone? And it's just because I've learned how not to be addicted to my phone.
Yeah,
but I just replace it with something else.
Right.
Like I got a new Switch.
Yeah.
I have enough of my
video games again.
I have my own personal Switch.
Right.
Like there's a family Switch and there's my Switch.
So my thing has become my cell phone, and your thing has just it rotates between different things. Yeah.
Like it'll be something else. Like, and I know it will be. And there's nothing. I shouldn't say there's nothing I can do about it, but it is what it is. Right.
Right.
The problem is that, and this is something that this generation and the next generation, we're never bored.
Right.
Like there's never a point. I'm never bored anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we were younger, and it's like home computers weren't prevalent. The internet was barely a thing, if at all, when we were kids. And I mean, even when high-speed internet became a thing, I think because we were already ingrained in a certain childhood, I guess, as it were. It didn't change our childhoods that much, but it's almost like once we weren't kids anymore, then it did, right? Because I mean, I know. Well, we used to congregate at the same friends, and we all had our computers, and we played games. But it's like, okay, if a nice summer day outside, we're gonna go outside and play Manhunt or something like that, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, we would do that. We would do both, and I don't think you get as much of that anymore with kids now. No. Because of the fact that you can almost be in an always on environment.
Yeah, like my kids are never bored. They're never bored.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can just grab something.
Right.
That entertains them specifically for them.
Yeah.
So, because I'm never bored, it's never like, and I always find something to replace it. And everything that I find to replace it is designed to capture my attention the most.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to get away from if you have an addictive personality, or if you suffer from any kind of addiction like I do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it can be like, oh, I'm just gonna put this down. No, I'm gonna go watch another episode.
Well, and I guess from the addiction standpoint, so there was a TEDx video that I was watching as part of doing the research for this, and the guy in it, the guy says that, and again relating to cell phones, but I guess it could relate to any sort of electronics kind of thing. But he says, cell phones are the new cigarettes.
Oh, for sure.
Because people, you'd have a pack of cigarettes in your breast pocket or in your jeans pocket or something like that. And I mean, yeah, there's obviously still people that smoke, but now it's the phone.
Yeah.
I got to get my phone hit. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So, it's so, and that was part of what spoke to me there. I mean, I feel like at least when my youngest son was really young, we weren't in this position yet, right? We didn't have the smartphones and things like that. So, I mean, at least for the first maybe like 6 years of his life or so, it wasn't as bad as it is now.
No.
Whereas now there is kind of that disconnect. Now, mind you, he's old enough now that it's like, well, I'd rather hang out with my friends, and if that involves playing video games with them online and chatting with them on the phone and stuff like that, well, then that's what he does. That's what they all do.
Yeah.
In their case, it's like, is it an addiction? I don't know. I don't know if you can describe it as an addiction when it comes to kids, but you could.
I mean, I look back and I remember one of my counselors saying, "What do you do every day after you go to school?" And I wrote it down, and I basically spent 4.5 hours watching TV.
Right.
Every night.
Yeah. I don't feel, yeah, exactly. What they're doing now is not necessarily much different, let's say, than what we did growing up either, right?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Right? The distraction was there. It was just a different kind of distraction.
Just a different distraction.
Yeah. Now, luckily for me, I didn't get addicted to cigarettes. I didn't get addicted to alcohol or any illicit drugs, as they're called. But,
And that's maybe that's part of it as well, is that I look at the fact that, like how much I played video games when I was a kid, and because again, obviously that was way before smartphones, and when it was like the old brick cell phones. I mean, whatever, you're not doing anything with those. You barely make a phone call with them. Like, so I do look at what my childhood was like, and I kind of look at what his is like, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I played a lot of video games when I was a kid. It's like, get it in while you can, because once you're an adult, notwithstanding Mike, it can be a lot more difficult to get to have the time to do those kinds of things.
Listen, all you have to do is just train your kids to like video games, and then they all like video games.
Okay, I guess. Maybe.
And if you don't want to play with Lego, get them Minecraft. And tell them they can't play survival, they can only play creative.
All right.
And then they make the coolest things, and you're just like, how did you do that?
They'll amaze you.
Yes, they do.
With their brick artwork.
With
their virtual brick artwork.
Virtual brick artwork.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Okay, well, we started with cell phone addiction, and whatever. Electronics.
They're almost
in general. It's all similar, right? Cell phone addiction is just like one part of a whole of addiction as a whole, right? Yeah. And you're right. When you have an addictive personality, it's something that can easily suck you in.
Oh, for sure.
So, anyways, like I said, I'm gonna put some of the links for that smartphone compulsion test, and some of the articles and the book that I mentioned in the show notes. So if you want to take a look at those, you can. If you want to do the quiz for yourself and realize how addicted to your smartphone you might be, then you'll be able to do that too. Anyways, my name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.